Okay. Welcome to the Rolling Coynes Podcast. Woo!
Is it official?
It's official. Yeah, why not?
Okay.
I don't know. I thought about Mats Don't Lie or Lessons from a White Belt as different names. But
Oh, yeah.
when you said, is this official, do you mean like we're recording or what?
That we are recording a podcast, not
No.
just like testing out the equipment. And...
Yeah, I figure why not?
Okay.
I mean, it's pretty much there.
Okay.
I feel like since this is our first, we should introduce ourselves in a way. So, who are you?
Me first? Okay.
What's your name?
My name is Crystal. I am recently 38. I'm 38. You have to remember that. I'm a mom. I'm your wife. I have 2 little boys, 1 and 4, almost 5. And I mean, we can get into more about me, in depth, but I'd say that that's the high level.
How tall are you?
I guess that's kind of important.
Yeah.
I'm 5'7", so slightly above average height, and I'm about right now, I'd say somewhere in the 150s, probably upper end of that.
And how old are we? Have 2 boys. How old are our boys?
1 and almost 5.
Okay.
Yeah, so feel like an old mom.
Yeah. Any injuries?
Let's see. A lot of nags across the years. Injuries. I injured myself skiing when I was, I'll say 20, trying to do stuff that I was not qualified to do. Went into the park with a group of friends.
Skiing, right?
Skiing, yep. And try to do what would you call it? I mean, you know more from skateboarding, but it was like a box. You jump up and try to...
I wasn't there, so I don't know.
I know, but you know what they are, though. Like, it's like a box that you're supposed to, like, ride down sideways on your skis.
I'm not as familiar with, like, ski trick
Imagine,
names.
like, you're, like, on a rail
Uh-huh.
on a skateboard, and you're, like, grinding a rail, right? So you turn
You're
your
going
skateboard...
sideways?
sideways.
Like a board slide?
Yeah.
If you were skateboarding?
So like a snowboarder, right, would hop up, turn sideways, kind of grind their way down the box, which has like these 2 metal edges on it so that you can kind of catch the edges. And I was going down and I was like, I have to commit to something and I'm not going to do one of these big jumps. So this one's straight. It's about 12 feet long. It's only a foot off the ground. I'm going to jump on it, but I didn't know that you're supposed to jump on it sideways. So I jumped on it face forward and just like squeezed my skis in really narrow. And it's only like 10 inches wide, maybe a foot. And I leaned back when I jumped up. So I was going down it for maybe like 3 or 4 feet. And then I like panicked and you don't lean back. I leaned back. My skis slipped out from underneath me. And then I just hit my back on one of the middle rails and thought I was okay. Knocked the wind out of myself. Probably knocked myself out, but didn't realize it because you never really know when you do. And then got home and realized something was terribly wrong. Went to the hospital and ended up fracturing a couple of vertebrae. But living life right now, that doesn't really affect me. I know that I have some strength imbalances from all of that, but I think that that's my only major injury. And then aside from that, like a little bit of overuse stuff in like wrists, or my neck is just chronically tight, I think from my posture more than anything, but I wouldn't call that an injury. Yeah, I've been really lucky. I've broken a toe a couple times. I think you've broken a toe once.
Yeah. Broken your toe once?
You've broken my toe once. That toe's broken like 3 times. So, yeah, no, I think I've been pretty lucky. I'm also a very cautious person, so I don't put myself in situations where I'm going to get hurt very often. So jiu-jitsu is a very interesting activity, and we can get into that. But
it's funny, I was going to I realized as we were sitting here talking, I was like, oh, I didn't even explain why we're doing this podcast and like what the point is. And I was going to like do a slow reveal, but I was going to ask you if you had any prior physical fitness experience. What's your fitness level?
Yes. It's hard because I think I compare myself to a really fit community that we were previously a part of. I know that if I step back and look at the general population, I am still actually a fit person compared to other
General pop, yeah.
Yeah, other 38-year-old women in America.
With 2 kids.
With 2 kids, yeah. Am I fit compared to where I was? No. Do I ever think I'll get back to that level of fitness? I don't know. Maybe. Probably not the same. But right now, I'd say in the last 6 months or so, I have felt at least coming to like stasis after having our second child. Like I feel like my hormones are regulating, my body composition is changing a little bit. I'm kind of reconnecting with my core, which has been very helpful with jiu-jitsu. But could I run a mile in less than 8 minutes right now? No. So, cardiovascular fitness, no. But I think I'm still generally a strong person.
Think you could do 10 sit-ups in a row?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Push-ups?
I've always struggled with push-ups because I'm such a long person with long limbs. Even when I was incredibly fit, I sucked at push-ups.
Pull-ups?
That would be interesting. Yeah, because again, used to have very good upper body strength.
And I asked Crystal that question. We used to do CrossFit, so when you ask somebody who used to do CrossFit if they can do pull-ups, you actually do have to
silly
specific
kipping pull-ups.
Yeah. They weren't silly. They're just
yeah. But I'm saying prime days. I think
we practiced a lot of strict pull-ups in our CrossFit experience.
Yeah, I think I got to 13 strict pull-ups in a row, which was pretty impressive for a woman.
And so you're curious about what you could do now. If you could just throw a number out, what do you think you could do? 1, 2?
I think I would try for 3 and wouldn't get it.
Okay.
But I also could get on the bar. And part of it is that hanging from a bar is really hard.
Sure.
There's a bit of endurance that actually comes from regulating, not regulating, but your body getting used to doing that and relaxing enough. So I think that would actually be hard to jump up on a bar and hold on to it.
So we're 38. We have 2 kids. We have prior CrossFit experience, and
just just sports and fitness.
Yeah.
We've always done something. It just hasn't been traditional sports, I think, for both of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we recently found jiu-jitsu and are absolutely drinking the Kool-Aid. We are obsessed. I am. I know I am. Do you think you're obsessed?
I am an obsessive person. So, and it's not I hesitate to say obsessed because I don't think that it, as of yet, is not pulling. I'm not sacrificing anything else in our lives for jiu-jitsu. And I think when I hear you say obsessed, I totally get what you're saying. Yes, I could just be I'm obsessed. I love it.
Yeah.
But not
honeymoon
obsessed.
phase.
Yeah, not obsessed in the way where we don't have Instagram, but I'm not taking time away from the family to,
You're not willing to go live in a gym.
No.
That's falling apart in the middle of the Midwest.
Yeah, or quit my job, and that sort of thing. But yes,
that's another thing. What do you do for work? You don't have to say where you work, but what is your what's your work level?
I am
It's corporate
desk job, marketing, program manager. I would say pretty type A type job. A lot of, people managing, wrangling, budget management, So I'm a very, I don't know.
How much energy and mind space, headspace
sucks.
does it demand of you?
So much. It ebbs and flows. I'm trying to work on improving that, but it can be a very stressful job. And jiu-jitsu has been a very welcome distraction. And I think after having, especially our second kid, and just how much time, gets sucked away into taking care of your children, which I love, I didn't think that I would have a hobby again. I think there were things that I tried, I liked making jewelry and I liked doing this and that, but everything felt like I was pulling myself away from the family to do it. And so I couldn't justify doing it, even if it was just down in the basement.
One thing that we've talked about that is conducive to this hobby is the fact that our 5-year-old son, well, he'll be 5 soon enough. We got him doing it 3 or 4 months before we started.
Yeah.
And we saw the benefit of him doing it. And I'd been circling the drain for years, probably since 2016 was when I first had the inkling to try it or do it. And life happens, didn't pull the trigger. We
had enough other stuff going on that it didn't really seem like a necessity.
Yeah.
Or, we already had something to fill that void, either with our time or our money.
Yeah. And so it's a family hobby.
Yeah.
Once our 1-year-old is old enough, he's absolutely going to get chucked in there.
Yeah.
Start doing it.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to be better than all of us.
Because I know exactly what you're how you feel, where sometimes I feel like going out in the garage, I'm being selfish. Yeah. With trying to do some hobby out there. But this, I have no problem making time for it. And it takes way more time to drive to the gym and do an hour class and come back than just walking out to the garage for 45 minutes to do a little hobby out there. But for whatever reason, this just feels more beneficial for the whole family.
Yeah. I mean, I think part of it is that if we want to spend any of our time or energy outside of the gym, learning about it, getting better at it, that's done here in the house. I can talk to you about it. We can drill. We have gymnastics mats in our living room now, partly for the kids, partly for ourselves. But, we can make it a part of our lifestyle.
Yeah.
Whereas you going in welding, right? You're not going to go out there and know exactly what you're going to do because you don't have a coach or an instructor out there walking you through the steps of making something. If you want to learn how to make something, you're also going to have to come inside and watch YouTube videos about welding to learn how to do the thing that you want to do. And while that's not out of the picture, it's just, I think any hobby, it can be, but it's not just an hour a day. If you're really into it, it's pulling your attention throughout the day.
Yeah.
So this is nice because if I see a short on YouTube, or you more so than me, but I think both of us, if we see something that we think is interesting or helpful, we'll just send it to each other.
Yeah. It's been really nice to and we got into it at the same time. We started the same week. We've gone to almost the same number of classes.
Yeah. Do you want to get into your intro before we get to?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Well, what's your name?
Ross.
And how old are you?
I'm 38. I'm a whole month older than Crystal.
And we obviously have the same children. You don't have any other children.
I have not that I know of.
Maybe important to note that we've been together since we were 20. Is that right?
21.
21. Yeah, we've known each other since we were 20, but we've been together since we were 21. Got married. Oh, gosh. I guess this year will be, would it be 12 years? Yeah, because 2014 we got married.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll trust you.
Yeah. So that'd be like 17 years together, 12 married.
Right.
That's kind of,
Okay.
I do the math like that.
Yeah.
And what about you? What about your background? We both did CrossFit.
Yeah, I quit sports in high school.
Like before getting into high school or while you were in high school?
While in high school. Like the first sport I quit was in 5th grade was basketball. I saw that light dim really quick.
You're like, I am.
That's not going to happen. There's nothing here. There's no legs here. Then it was baseball, which tangent for another day. I wish I would have stuck with. And I quit baseball in like middle school. Found skateboarding and just like got obsessive about skateboarding.
And it was the cool thing to do.
It was a cool thing to do. Transportation around the city.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up in an urban area.
And it's like an urban activity, like just in general, like style wise and like your friend group. And I feel like it's like much more, I don't know. I feel like a suburban activity is baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, all kids play baseball, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. We used to joke that we had to take our bats with us to go to the bathroom during baseball practice because it was up at Cal Anderson Park.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's something to skateboarding because I think of all of our physical fitness or sports backgrounds culminating to this moment in doing jiu-jitsu. Like how did all the things I've done in my life helped me with this? And I only go off on this little side quest because it's so interesting watching all the people in the gym and wondering, like, seeing the different levels of body awareness. And you're like, is this the first time you've moved your body? And then there's other people where like, you're like, how do you move your body like that?
Well, especially when you see elite people online, right? Like there are people who are at our gym that like they move really well, but when you watch like, you know, these prodigy children on YouTube, you know, that are like competing for these big names and you see the way that they move, like it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like there's very wide spectrum.
Yeah. And I think about skateboarding a lot recently because my body aches in different ways. Like my ankles perpetually ache.
Because you've sprained them multiple times.
And especially my right one because that was my lead foot skating. But I also think there was like fine motor skills involved in it. Like, you know, skateboarding can get like super technical about just like how you flick your foot or like how you catch and land. Like there's all these little things. And and
balance. Then, like, I mean, balance is a huge thing. I'm realizing.
Cardiovascular, like just pumping on a skateboard through a city
and through Seattle. Like we're in the Pacific Northwest. We're not in Seattle anymore, but we're about an hour south.
Yeah. We're just like skating for hours on end.
Yeah.
But then you're like a kid. And then I played soccer my freshman year of high school. And I ran cross country. But after freshman year of high school, I quit all sports. Until we found fixed gear bike riding when we were...
Which again, like unconventional, but still fitness building, right?
I mean, like just you're riding a bike that doesn't coast. If you are on it and moving, your feet are moving. At least I rode fix.
I had a single speed because I needed brakes. I wasn't that crazy. I'm cautious.
I had no brakes, so if you wanted to brake, you kicked your foot back as hard as you could and kind of lift it up a little bit and you would skid.
Well, and you were basically like controlling the wheel. The wheel goes forward, you go forward. The wheel goes backwards,
you go backwards.
You slow down.
Some guys rode backwards.
Yeah.
And we got really into that. We got obsessive about that too.
I forgot how fit that got us.
Yeah, like cardiovascular. Like
ride across town to go to work, go to school.
Rode everywhere.
Yeah.
And I lived on top of Capitol Hill.
Yeah.
So one of the highest points of the city. So I always had to ride uphill home.
Yeah.
And you lived on the top of another hill.
Yeah, the other really steep hill going Finney Ridge down to Ballard.
Yeah. But I also feel like that like tighten my hip flexors up to
bikers don't have great posture.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Like it's almost like I can't get them to untighten from that experience.
Yeah.
And we went right from that, doing that for probably at least a year or two.
I think at least 2 years, because all during that time from high school until about, I don't remember how long after, but I want to say multiple years after I graduated college, I was coaching gymnastics. And so like,
oh yeah,
kind of side tangent for myself, I was never a competitive gymnast. I actually wasn't introduced to it really as a child, except for like the local YMCA classes that my friend brought me to. But I wanted a job when I was 15, and someone told me that the local YMCA would pay you to coach kids gymnastics. And so I started doing that, and I just kind of learned along the way. And a decade of coaching the fundamentals of gymnastics, getting really strong doing that, plus biking, like that translated really well into CrossFit, because there's so much like, hollow, arch, plank, like these really basic, open your hips, close your hips, that translate into really everything. I think that translated really well into CrossFit. And now I'm starting to see this is actually still carrying me through and like helping with jiu-jitsu, which I love. So get your kids into gymnastics if you want a versatile athlete, everybody.
Yeah. So we did the bike riding right into, it was almost like almost like a seamless transition from riding bikes, then getting into CrossFit. And we did CrossFit for like 5 years, just about.
Yeah.
On and off.
Yeah.
But like so obsessive about that too. Like I remember Crystal got a Groupon. Mm-hmm. She went and did the class, and then she came home.
I drank a smoothie before the class, puked after the class, and was like, wow, I love this. Which is just, again, it's like the inner masochist. I'm like, oh, I really like that.
Yeah.
Just that like competitive, I'm a pretty chill, mellow person on the outside, and then there's just something burning inside of me that just wants to, I don't know, compete, be competitive, push myself. I think it's more so like an internal challenge kind of thing. Like I want to see what I'm capable of. But yeah, CrossFit scratched that itch I didn't know I had, and then said, Ross, you got to do this.
Yeah, you literally gave me the ultimatum of like, either
I'm going to be doing this.
I'm going to be doing this a lot, and you can do it with me, or we could probably need to reconsider our relationship.
I didn't take it that far, but I was basically like, you have to at least try it.
Yeah. And then I was in.
Yeah.
Fell in love.
It really helps when you do something, and like I feel for people when they start something. I mean, I suck at jiu-jitsu. Everybody sucks at it, right? Like everybody sucks. It doesn't really matter. Like you can't even gauge like how little or how much you suck when you start, because it's just, there's so much to learn. But if you have any sort of foundation to stand on when you come into something that's this difficult, like it can keep you going. And so to know that like my core is still relatively strong, or like I learned the warm-up moves in, a handful of classes, and they're really weird and challenging. Like, I don't know really where I was going with this, but I think that like it really helps when you join an activity and you find a little bit of success from something else. You can connect the dots to something else that you've done in the past.
Yeah, it's almost like I'm trying to build avatars for the listener of who you and I are, mm-hmm. and how they might relate to this person. Like, oh, okay, well, if they, I did CrossFit, and then they did CrossFit and they had these benefits from it. Well, okay, maybe I can go and try it too. Or, you know, even if there's the person out there who is like, I've done no physical fitness. The thing is, we still sucked and do suck terribly at jiu-jitsu going in.
Yeah. Well, and there are people who may have zero athletic, I don't know, like any sort of predisposition. And that's fine because maybe that person is really analytical and they can play chess, like literally play the game of chess, because sometimes when you're doing this, it feels like a chess game.
Chess.
And like people will just kind of find their lane and figure out how they learn. And as long as you're able to kind of listen to yourself, you'll find your way. But I think that the nice thing about it is jiu-jitsu is that it's like relying on like natural ways that the body moves. If you've done any sort of like sport or activity, you're doing similar movements. It's just that you haven't done them in that combination before. And so you have to teach your body how to do that.
Yeah, you're putting the pieces together in a different way.
Like shrimping.
Yeah.
Which if you haven't done jiu-jitsu, it's the strangest thing ever. And the fact that it's called a shrimp is just silly.
Or side escape.
Yeah. Okay. But when you figure out like why and when you do it, and hopefully you have good coaches who help explain that to you early on, then you can kind of put the pieces together and go, oh, I've done this in some capacity before. Or like me as a mom, I'm like, my baby does this every day when I try to change his diaper.
Yeah.
I swear whoever was learning these movements in the early days was just watching children move, because their bodies move so like fluidly and without all the cricks and aches and pains of an adult body, because they do stuff that I'm like, oh, that's a jiu-jitsu move.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to trap you like I would someone in side control when I'm trying to change your diaper. So yeah, it feels very, I don't know, like it sounds kind of cheesy to say, but it's very like human.
Yeah, it's about as human as it gets.
Yeah.
Which
And
is, yeah.
Wrestling with another person is also about as human as it gets. Like
Yeah.
you're getting up close and personal with your teammates, and somehow it's not that weird.
It's for humans.
Yeah.
So if you're a human, you can do it.
Yeah. I mean, or how about maybe it's not human, maybe it's animal, like, because we're animal, because like animals play and wrestle and like have contact. And I think as humans, we're losing a little bit of that. And I wonder if a little bit of the appeal of jiu-jitsu is that, like, as crazy as it sounds, like, and all the macho guys might not want to admit this, but like human contact, like how much did you enjoy like wrestling with your buddies as a young boy? And
I craved it all the time.
It's so like natural, right?
And a lot of my friends weren't very contact oriented.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like,
and maybe that's because they're told not to, right?
Yeah. Like,
be gentle. Don't, you know, like we're kind of changing our parenting style as a society. But I think that it, like having boys, I'm like, I want them to like explore that part of themselves, like go wrestle and like figure out what your limits are, so that you know not to push someone else's limits or go hurt other people.
Yeah.
Figure out how strong you are and figure out what hurts so that you don't do that to somebody else. And yeah, I mean, if you need a hug, join a jiu-jitsu class, because you're going to get a lot.
Inadvertently.
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't get to the fact that I'm 5'9". I'm it's okay. I'm 180, 190. Let's say just 190 average.
Mm-hmm. You're also very average size.
Super average, kind of short legs, long torso, normal arms. Bad posture. I would love to work on it. I think it it gives me aches and pains that, are self-inflicted because of poor posture.
Yeah.
I dealt with back spasms for the last 6 years, which is so crazy to say out loud.
And not just back spasm, right? Because I think of spasm as like a quick moment in time where you're like, ooh, a little zing. But we're talking like what people would describe as like throwing their back out.
Yeah.
Right? Like something happens, your back seizes up,
and you can't get off the ground.
Yeah. Stuck in bed for multiple days.
Like horrible. It sucks. Like some of the threshold of throwing my back out or having a back spasm has spanned from like, oh, this sucks, and I'm kind of like limping around, to I was like rolling, writhing, and weeping on the ground with Crystal one morning, and she asked me, does it hurt, or are you frustrated? Are you like afraid or frustrated? And I was like, both.
Yeah.
Like it hurt so bad, and I was terrified that
like this
is my life.
Yeah.
What else? When I was riding fixed gear bikes all those years ago, we're gonna rewind a second. I got doored riding through downtown Seattle by somebody getting out of a cab. I was splitting lanes, and luckily I didn't hit my leg on the edge of the door, but it hit my saddle, and I went up and over the handlebars, and I think I partially dislocated my right shoulder, and I still have little burning aches in there from time to time. Those are the two main ones. Other than that, I've been pretty healthy as far as like any sort of, any limitations that might hold somebody back from doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like trying to, again, like kind of like build like a reference for somebody out there. Like the back spasms for me was like a major
we probably
apprehension.
Could have and possibly would have started a year earlier. But we were waiting for you to feel confident in your back. And I remember like we got our son signed up, and I think even when we got him signed up, you weren't quite 100%. You're maybe like 2 months out from your last back event.
Yeah.
And that's when I started doing research about jiu-jitsu and was like, oh no, I think I might like this. I think like the first time you did a couple of trials multiple years ago, or like when your brother was doing it, I always found it interesting. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool, but not for me. I want to be a jock. I want to weightlift. I want to, like I really like this CrossFit thing. And then I just became very disenchanted by it. And then started researching jiu-jitsu, realized, oh, this is like, it has the community aspect that I really crave. Working out in the garage just isn't right. And I think I wanted to join maybe even a little bit sooner than we did, but I was waiting for you to feel comfortable, because I kind of felt like, well, shoot, like if I join and he's not quite ready, will he, one, push himself to join too early and hurt himself? Or if he is patient and it takes a little bit longer, will there be some sort of like envy or
sure, yeah,
feelings about that? So I think when I kind of told you like, okay, I think I want to do this, and I have a feeling that this is going to be a good fit, and you're like, okay, let's do it. I was very, very happy because I didn't want to pressure you.
Yeah, I was so terrified.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to say it.
Oh, totally. I felt it. I mean,
yeah.
You don't have to say much, but.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, like. So I was just, so apprehensive. But I was just like, now or never, dude. Like, okay, what? You've had one before. Like, I was nervous of having one in the middle of class and like, I'm talking as if it's never going to happen again, which positive mental attitude here.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like really nervous about having one in the middle of the class and like having to like crawl on hands and fours out the door sort of thing.
Yeah.
Or just like not be able to
Or,
get
like,
up and they're like, what is happening? Like,
totally.
I
I had that happen to me once during one of those like group fitness classes at that all women's gym where I just like, again, thought maybe I was stronger than I was at the time and deadlifted a weight that should have been light, but it wasn't. And I tweaked my back and everything just started seizing up and like adrenaline got me out of there.
Yeah.
And I could barely get out of the car when I got home.
Yeah. And here we are. How long have we been doing it now?
I think that I looked at the calendar and my first class was the first week of November. So 2025, we're January 1st, 2026. So it's been almost 2 months. But those first few weeks was 1, maybe 2 classes a week. Just because we were going to a fundamentals class that only happens twice a week. And we've got kids, so we can't go at the same time. So we've been trading when we go to the gym. So it took a while to kind of ramp up. It feels like it's been 1 month.
Sure.
Because those first few weeks, it was like, you watched some MMA. I don't want to say that you knew a ton more than me, but I didn't know the difference between guard and mount.
Got it.
I didn't know what side control was. Like, nothing. And it felt so cool to go into something knowing absolutely nothing, because it was so hard to be brave enough to do that. And so for anyone who was like, I don't know anything, it's not going to hurt to like go watch some beginner YouTube videos and learn some basic moves. There's some channels on Reddit where you could just go and ask, like, what are the top 10 moves that I should, like, know what they look like before going into a jiu-jitsu class. That wouldn't hurt, but you can go in knowing nothing.
Yeah. A good gym, you can go in knowing nothing.
Yeah. And I, definitely research if they have beginners classes. If you can afford it, a private lesson will take you really far, especially 100%. Just to go through the warm-up movements, so that if you do have to get dropped into an all-level class, that you can like kind of keep up, because the ego gets challenged in these classes quite a bit. And like it's funny how much, like, how not embarrassing, but you're like, wow, I feel like a child again when you're like the last person finishing a warm-up move and everyone's like waiting for you and they're like kind of cheering you on, but you feel kind of kind of like a dork, just trying to struggle through for me, it's, what was it? Like reverse shrimps.
Yep.
Yeah, those suck.
Yeah, they're weird. Or bed bugs.
Yeah. But you're just like, it takes a while to like even get used to doing a warm up properly. So you got to kind of ease into it if you can.
I was so sore the first, like, I still get extremely sore after classes, but there was a time in the past 2 months where we went like, I think 4 times in a week.
Mm-hmm.
And by that time, like, for whatever reason, that allowed my body this like weird cycle of like breakdown, recovery, soreness, but then you move, it kind of goes away, recovery, soreness, move your body again.
You re-tear the muscles, right? Yeah. And so it's not like, for me at least, I always get that second day soreness when I start to become a little bit more sedentary.
Yeah.
If you keep moving, you get the lactic acid out and you keep, I don't know. There's a little bit of science behind it, I think.
Excuse me, it's what time?
It's 9.
9 o'clock.
For us, that's getting late.
We've already done all our chores, put the kids to bed, had a full day. So yeah, I don't know. I think it was, again, going back to like what it was like going into class. We talked like, nothing. Ego's getting crushed. You're getting crushed to a degree. I did for sure. Some purple belts really put it on me, but they were nice about it. They weren't, it wasn't out of control. And I remember, being just like so sore and thinking to myself, kind of being pompous about like our CrossFit experience, like, you're not getting fit doing jiu-jitsu. Stop it. It's a martial art.
Like before going in for your first classes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to get fit. That's okay. We'll supplement because we know how to take ourselves through a workout.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, oh no, absolutely. You can definitely get fit doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. It's just a different type of fitness. It's,
because like you're going through the warm up, you go through the movements, you know, the drilling,
yeah.
which you're going to be like, you know, like the warm ups, like you're just saying, like my core just gets torched.
Yeah.
Like it's like a little ab workout and you're like sweating by the end of the warm up.
Mm-hmm.
You do the drills, which you kind of cooled off a little bit, but still need to have some dexterity, or what am I trying to say? Like move your body.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go to roll. And even if you're like, you know, if you're doing chess, which is like a form of really slow rolling back and forth, you're probably not going to get the same cardio. But when you do a full roll,
yeah, I can
for
only
5 minutes, it's like the most intense cardio for 5 minutes. I've never felt like, I can't say I've never felt anything like it, because there's some really devious CrossFit workouts that will like just smoke you really fast.
Yeah.
But when you're adding in, I think, the adrenaline of like wrestling and
Mm-hmm.
survival, like, and you're fighting like that whole mental game along with like a hard cardio workout. Yeah. It's like you're trying to think while, like, most people, when you're running and you're doing like sprints, you don't think. You're not like strategizing while you're running.
Yeah, you kind of have to, at that point, you have to just let your training, you think while you train.
Yeah.
And then when you perform, you just hope that everything goes right?
CrossFit's the same way. You're not like, there's nobody chasing you while you're doing CrossFit. You don't have the same adrenaline dump.
Yeah.
I never felt what I felt rolling in any of my CrossFit experiences. Hard workouts for sure. Did I almost pass out a couple times or puke or anything like that?
Mm-hmm.
But the adrenaline dump of trying to fend off somebody who is attempting to choke you, and then usually does choke you, is unlike anything I've ever managed.
For anyone who hasn't done it and maybe has done other types of movement before, it's so interesting. It's almost like,
sorry, I'm going to interrupt you for real quick. Swimming. Yeah. I think swimming is the only other time I've felt this gassed in such a like short burst.
I mean, you have to breathe.
Yeah, you have to breathe, and you're like trying to float.
Yeah.
You have to like.
Yeah, you can't stop. You're gonna go down. If you don't do this right, you're gonna go down.
You need to make it to a wall.
Yeah.
Even if you bail
Yeah.
halfway through your lap, like, okay, where's the nearest wall or thing I can grab onto? And you like the panic.
Yeah.
If you're into the deep end, could set in.
Yeah.
And there's definitely like a little bit of panic that you have to manage.
Yeah. I think like fitness wise, it feels, I mean, and again, I think our experiences and what we can bring to the podcast in the future is going to be very interesting, because already 1.5 months in, I think it's been very different for both of us, being a man and a woman. I can't say that I don't get a workout during rolls, but I'll say 50% of the time. And it's changing a little bit now as people are kind of getting to know me. But I've definitely had a lot of people like, and I'll say rightfully so, like going really easy. And when you don't know what you're doing and someone is going easy, it's painfully unproductive. It feels that way, right?
Sure.
You know, like I'm trying not to be the spazzy white belt and just like flail everywhere. I don't have strength or size as an advantage, so I can't just like roll and squish somebody.
And you're not petite.
No, I mean, yeah, like 150
like,
pounds. Like I probably weigh, similar weight to at least a couple of the guys in our regular classes, but like we cannot pretend like men are stronger than women, because I have trained with and alongside men in a lot of the sports that I've done, and you don't have to go up against them, right? Like I know that in CrossFit, they're always lifting. Like women will typically lift about 2/3 of the weight that men do in the same workout.
Which was a great sweet spot for me.
Yeah.
I love doing the women's weights.
Yeah. You know, you're like, okay, well, if, you know, I'm cleaning 135, you're cleaning 195 or whatever.
Like I would get smushed under the men's weights all the time. Like
but
I just couldn't.
Putting your body up against someone that much stronger, like it's just different. So I feel like I'm doing, when I'm rolling, I put a really heavy weight vest on, and then every once in a while someone screams, plank, push up, sit up, you know, because you're doing these weird little explosive movements that are almost like, they're almost like calisthenics or something, or like body weight, you know, weird little simple body weight movements, but you have a weight vest on and you need to do it explosively. And I think that's what makes it really difficult. That it's not like only fast twitch. It's not only endurance. It feels like all of those things at the same time.
And you're trying to time them. Perfectly.
Yeah. And I'm sure like as you get better at it, you don't feel as gassed during a roll with a similarly matched person, you know? But then I'm like, well, I don't know. Everyone's sweating their asses off, so.
That's why I was talking to one of the coaches in the changing room.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was like, oh, God, I'm so sore. And, you know, hopefully as my technique gets better, I won't be as sore every time. And he goes, sorry, it's not how it works.
Yeah, you just get better and you move. You go
like,
harder.
You know, he's like, there's just, you're on this weird tripod balance thing where, like, if skill is helping you out, they might be stronger than you. Then you all of a sudden have to match their strength if you can. And then if you're just as strong as them or stronger, well, they might be faster. And so you're going to have to move faster to keep up with them. And he's like, all of a sudden you're always just trying to keep three, you know, plates spinning at once. And you're going to be sore.
If you want something where you are always going to be stimulated and probably never get bored, then this is a great activity for you. I think doing something like Olympic weightlifting, CrossFit, like once you've, I'd say, like mastered the movements, then you're just like doing these like really minute tweaks to your game, and you get a little bit better at this or a little bit better at that, and then you're just waiting for your body to get stronger. Because I think you can hit like this acceptable threshold of fitness, and then you need to get stronger, and then you want to get fit again, and then you get stronger, and then you get fit again. But it's these like teeny tiny little micro steps once you kind of hit the higher, you know, ranks of that sport, which I think we both did. And so, you know, I don't know if it was a belt system for CrossFit. What belt were we?
Oh, sorry, I was confused. I thought you were talking about jiu-jitsu. So you were just talking about CrossFit just now.
Yeah. You know, when you're doing a sport like that, it's like it gets boring.
Yeah.
Right? You're
Teeter-totter of fit.
I know how to do all
strong.
of these movements. A random new movement might be thrown into the mix every like year or two, but for the most part, like you kind of figure it out, and not everyone's good at everything. You always have something you can work on, but you just go in and you do something and you try to do a little faster than you did it last time, or you try to lift a little heavier than you did last time, but it gets very repetitive.
Sure.
And I think, you know, that's what I was saying, like what belt level, if it was white to black in CrossFit, like where did we get?
Ooh, what do you think you got to? I know what I think you got to, but I want to hear what you got to.
I want to say purple to brown.
I was going to say purple.
Yeah. Because it was like, there was things that were like, not quite like, I would say I was a solid purple belt.
Solid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I got to purple.
Yeah.
It's tough because
you were like a non-competitive purple.
Correct.
Where I was a competitive purple.
Yeah. Like I was, where I did not compete as high of a level as you did. I excelled or like found success in coaching.
Yeah.
And they both have their merit. Like, the interesting thing about jiu-jitsu is that those both have their merits.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like, coaching in CrossFit is not like, doesn't necessarily give you brownie points as a competitor.
No.
Or like any more pull. Nobody really cares.
No, people would usually just do it because they needed to be able to live at a gym, and so they would open a gym.
Yeah. But like in jiu-jitsu, it seems to me that like coaching at some point, like understanding strategy and technique and philosophy of the whole thing is a step towards a higher belt.
That, and then I think like community building.
Yeah.
And like, I want to say like preaching the gospel, right? Like it's there is some emphasis put on, yeah, it sounds very like church, but like spreading the word, like you're an advocate and like a figure in the community. And as you get up in the ranks, like it almost seems like it's an expectation for people to at least give coaching a shot. I don't know that everyone who's like a brown or a black belt will coach just because of their lifestyle or whatever, but I would be very surprised if there was a black belt who at least didn't try coaching at some point. And same goes for competing. I think there are people who move up the ranks who they're just like, competing's not for me, or I've had way too many injuries, I'm not really into that. But there's a lot of gyms who, just based on what I've listened to in like podcasts and videos, like there are gyms that require you to compete before you can move up to certain belts, because it seems like a really good way for you to test your, I want to say fitness, but that's not it, test your skills in a real,
test your resolve.
Yeah.
Like what I was talking about earlier, that like adrenaline, like panic that happens during a roll is a real thing.
Mm-hmm. And this is a self-defense art. So,
yeah. Turn sport.
A tournament, it's not the same, but it's about as close as most people want to get
to the real.
Having to really use what you've learned.
Yeah.
So, yeah, why not test it? But yeah, both seem to be equally valued in the community.
I think we're getting to the end of it. I just wanted to introduce ourselves and just kind of like where our headspaces were at as far as like somebody that was like us or like me, circling the drain. Should I do it? Should I not do it?
Yeah.
I don't know if I can tell you should or shouldn't do it, but this is how we started.
Yeah, if anyone is listening to this, which is at this point very unlikely, but
screaming into the void.
You're already there.
Yeah.
If you're listening to a random jiu-jitsu podcast that hardly anyone is listening to, so it's not like it just got served to you.
Looking for the answer of, should I start jiu-jitsu?
You should. You should try. And that's with everything in life. If you have some curiosity about something and it's not going to be detrimental to give it a shot, you should absolutely try it.
And yeah, amen.
Yeah.
One added little bit to that. I wish we could end on that because that was wrapped up so nicely. But one thing that I think helped us start was starting at a Gracie Barra or Baja gym. It's like a large corporate gym all around the nation, all around the world, that's standardized. It's like you kind of know what you're getting to a degree, right?
Some people need that.
And I felt I did. Now that I've been doing it for 2 months, I'd be open, and we'll see what happens here in the next couple of months. But I'd be open to a more independent gym.
Yeah. But I think there could be people who don't know that they need to do the research into multiple gyms in their area to figure out what vibe is right for them, because you could accidentally end up at the Daisy Fresh,
Yeah.
or like, and so like, you could end up at a very competitive gym with a bunch of 25-year-old boys who are trying to kill each other every day.
With the intent of like
winning nationals,
like
yeah,
destroying anybody in their path.
Yeah.
And you are their training partner. So buckle up.
Yeah. Before we go, I don't think that we know the answer to this question yet, but there's one question, which is, why are we even sitting here talking to each other and putting ourselves out there? Because this is uncomfortable for me. I am definitely, I want to say an introvert. I don't think I am actually an introvert, but I am shy. And I think that those two things are different. So why are we putting ourselves out there? Like, the thought of someone that I know listening to this makes my skin crawl. So maybe someday that'll happen and I have to get over it.
And that's why we're not going to tell anybody.
We're not going to tell anybody. But we are so excited about this that it's one of those things where it's like, we stepped into the class. We did that. That was way harder than this. We're excited about it. I'm sure there are other people that are excited about it. So let's talk about it. I can't tell you how many jiu-jitsu podcasts I've already listened to just on long drives. If I had to commute to the office every day, it'd probably be 5 times the amount that I've listened to. And I think that this will be a really cool thing for us to look back on.
Yes.
To kind of, I don't know.
Should we let it breathe, or do you want me to actually answer the question?
No, I'm kind of answering it from my perspective, but
okay.
I'm very curious. Like, why did you sit here and set up all this equipment for us?
The first thing I want to answer is just comment on is your shyness.
Mm-hmm.
This is our probably 5th attempt at starting a podcast.
We are full of ideas.
Always.
Yeah.
And it's always so funny that you're kind of him and ha, like whenever I'm like, okay, we're going to sit down and like do the first episode of our podcast. And
that just feels so official. I'm like, who am I?
Yeah. And then
who wants to listen to me?
Well, like I hit record and ask one question and then you just start talking. It's amazing. I love it. So it's just, I don't know. It's just fun. Cause I'm like, yeah, look who's shy now. I think there's multiple reasons for me in this. And I think we kind of talked about this earlier on our drive, but there are some selfish reasons, obviously. And there's also some selfless reasons. I think it would be and we've been through this experience a couple times with like CrossFit and like going through the birth of social media. Like we've had opportunities been all around us for getting in on the ground floor at different stages of the social media experience. It would be such a missed opportunity, and I see that now, not to do a weekly check-in with a new discipline or hobby that is jiu-jitsu that hopefully we do for the rest of our lives, and if not for the next 10 years.
Mm-hmm. If you hear a weird noise, that was our dog.
There's another part of like, I want this for our boys to listen to have.
Yeah, because I think we'll be pulling experiences and anecdotes from our personal lives. And I mean, this is all just so intertwined.
Yeah. Like I want them to be able to look back on this and like, God forbid we're, gone or something, like they have these to listen to.
Yeah.
I've never had a purpose with a podcast before. Like I never knew what to point it to. And this one, I would love to be able to point it to an Etsy shop and sell knick-knacky little fun pins or stickers or inside jokes from the podcast and like things that add to somebody's jiu-jitsu experience.
Yeah. And I think, just Ross has a past life as a graphic designer. I work in the creative marketing, branding space. So it suits
It
suits us.
It suits us. The opportunity's there. And to make a little, side income and
pay for some tournaments for our boys and
just to relieve a little
laundry
pressure.
detergent.
Fund the passion. And so aside from all those selfish reasons, right? And I believe those are necessary to do something well. Being able to give insight to folks out there who are considering this. And I don't know if I'm the best voice to listen to, but it's a voice, right? And I want to be able to help people know about this.
Yeah. I mean,
because there's so many things I wish, even the first 2 months now, where I'm like, why isn't this information all in one spot? And that's like kind of come to from a couple different places. And like, if there's something we can add in a positive way to the jiu-jitsu space, like I want to do that.
Yeah. I mean, one of the questions that I always want to ask the upper belts and the coaches at our gym right now is, okay, but how did you get here?
Yeah. How did
and I know
you
that story is very
cross the
long,
delta?
and those could be fun episodes to ask people about those journeys. But when you're in the very beginning and you're just in the suck, and I'll admit I've cried on a drive home, and I think I've had 2 cries already
at least
in
2
2 months. And it's not even like, I don't know, like certain things just kind of get exposed along the way.
I'm just now not having panic attacks driving into the gym.
Yeah, like no one talks about those in the podcasts with black belts. It's almost like they forget about that part of their journey. So I think that this might be helpful in that we're talking about the things that maybe the people who have been at it for 20 years kind of forget about.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, when you drive to the parking lot, you also have to get out of your car.
Yeah.
Or when you're the mom who's been bringing your son to class for 3 months, and you have to then go in and walk past all those parents in your workout gear or in your brand new fresh gi.
Yeah.
And you're going to feel really goofy. And there's just a lot of really weird little things that go unnoticed, I guess.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about it.
Here we go.
And maybe in the future we'll have a little bit more, planned topics. We'll find our flow.
I hope that this isn't just a podcast.
Yeah. We'll get our groove.
Yeah. But we got to start somewhere. Got to get some momentum.
Yeah.
All right. Love you, honey.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.